Yeah, that okay.
The King
I
of
like that.
Mondays, back again.
I love that rain walk music. That was that was real.
Rain walk, yes, that's what we're doing right now. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Metamorphosis. Brother Neil Frazier. The title today is Dr. Amos Wilson, School to Prison Pipeline and the Blueprint of Systemic Oppression. Title right there alone, man, it knocked me down, you know? And I think we're freezing up again. We had this problem 10 minutes before. We froze up a few times. I don't know what's going on, but every time we have a show, it's always something. But we're going to forge forward and make it work anyway. So Brother Neil is frozen. I'm not sure if he knows it or not. So I'm gonna remove him and he'll see that he has to come back in. That being said, life is good. I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying this time period in this section of my life. I thank the Creator for allowing me to get this far and to be able to enjoy health and thrive and have my mind set and to be able to sleep as long as I can. I've been getting some good sleep these days. I've been getting some good sun. I need more sun though. The only drawback about doing so much work here in the studio is that it's dark on purpose, soundproofed and everything. And I got one big window over there. So, I gotta occasionally go out during those times. So other than that, I'm good. And things are tranquil, even though the world may seem like it's in turmoil with what's going on with the war. It's it will affect us, but we didn't start it, and it's not our war. But we need to keep an eye on what the enemy is doing. And one thing before he comes in back again, okay, here he is. I'll save the rest for another show.
I don't know if they're doing it from my end or your end, but
Yeah, it's strange. I'm good over here from what I can see.
mm-hmm.
The internet connection. I don't know if it's. I'm not trying to say, oh, it's you, it's you, it's you, but I double checked
Right.
everything.
Well, I don't know. I mean, everything is set up the way it always is, but it's okay. I mean, the good thing is we can always come back on. So,
Right.
good to be with you and the family on Mondays as always, brother. As I was telling you, I'm really excited because this was one of my real first mentors in terms of looking at the reality of how we live in this country as not just Black men, but women as well. And so I brought out the rooster hat because this brother here was somebody that was laser focused on the truth. And, he reminds me of the saying that know the truth and the truth will set you free. Or more importantly, speaking the truth. And he didn't pull any punches with us. And a lot of his work, when you examine it, and we're going to go into it today, as you can see from the visuals, it really does set a blueprint for where we're going in the future. And as I told you, one of the mistakes that we make because we're so caught up into the survival game is we forget that we're responsible for teaching our own children. And that's something moving into the future now that's going to be extremely important.
Froze up again. I don't know if you can hear me, Brother Neil, but it's like it's a regular thing. It's like it's just I don't know. If I could time it, it's like you've been freezing out at a certain like a minute, minute and a half, whatever. So once again, I'm gonna depend on you to come back in, and I just hope that this doesn't break the flow of what he has to say. You know, you keep getting interrupted. You know, that's not good. You know, that's why I appreciate the solitude of being down here where I am. So when I'm gone mentally, just gone. Not going crazy, but just gone deep into that flow. Sister Queen Diane, I want to welcome you on in. Tracy J. Yes. Glad you're here. I hope all is well. I know it is. I'm just waiting for Brother Neil to come back in. It seems like, okay, here he is again. Okay, add to the stage.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
brother.
Yeah.
It's like every 60 seconds or every 90 seconds, it just pops off. I don't know what that is, you know?
Me either. I've never experienced that. But, you know, be that as it may, we're still going to talk about this giant of a brother today who really, when you look at his work, he really had his finger on the pulse of the situation that we face and that we've always faced in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna examine him today. We're gonna start out with your banner as always. Get us kicked off and tell us what beautiful picture, Dr. Amos Wilson. Wow.
Yes. You know, I'm getting better at these prompts.
I see.
You know, it's all what you request. You know, I'm not taking credit. It's an AI creation, of course.
Yeah.
But it's a program you use and how you prompt it and what you want to have in there. And what I say is with a lot of these programs, when you ask for certain elements and they can sense where you're going with it, you know, they'll reject it and say it may go against its policies. Anything too black, you see, so you have to trick it. So I didn't have as much problem with this, but the elements of, you know, seeing a child, a young man with a knapsack walking down a hallway like he's going to school, like he's in a school hallway, but prison, you know? Yeah. And then you see the hands, underwear, you know, the comments are behind bars, and you see our children, our future, our fight, power, knowledge, unity. And under that, let me remove this for a second. You can see the words history, truth, awareness, and empowerment.
Yes.
You know, it's the weapon. Unity is the solution. Of course, knowledge is the weapon. Discipline, not education. That's what they want. You know, that's the sign there. Yeah. And that's why it seems as though a lot of our schools, elementary schools, high schools, junior high schools, middle schools, the paint job and it's nothing exciting, you know. Not that there has to be some bright, you know, polka dot, whatever, but it's like it's conditioning you, and then you have the bells for each period that you go to in each section, and you know when you're on the prison yard, you get the bell going off. It's time to go into the cell, and you're already indoctrinated, you know, into this thing, and it's sad, you know, when you see how it is, because you know how are you going to take Eurocentric education for African children? The whole look. How do you? And I'm going to shut up after this, right? But how do you take a child off of the breast of its mother, right, and put it into a place where most often the teacher is not vibrating on the same frequency? I'm not expecting the teacher, the female teacher, to breastfeed the child, but it's too extreme. When you teach at home and you teach your child at home, that mother is still there. That father should still be there. It should be a gradual introduction into the world, just like being pregnant and having the child and the families around the child. You don't rip the child away into this system like that. And the things that these teachers do, the things that they say and get away with. Now we have more. See, I think Neil is frozen again. Let me remove this banner so we can see when I get him to come back. All right. Yeah, this is going to be a problem tonight, but we're going to keep on going with this. Let me just do it like this. It's ridiculous. It really is. But until he comes back, I just want to say that's too much of a jump. You know, all of a sudden, you know, you have this energy, and a lot of these teachers, like I said, for me coming up in elementary school in New York City, it was the small hats, the women. And the way I see it, it's not to nourish us with education, because there's a disconnection. To me, they're like sentinels looking over the mountain, looking over the horizon to see who the brightest is, to see who the smartest is, and to kill their spirit ahead of time, to monitor them like, hey, he's going to be a problem or she's going to be a problem. I don't trust it. I've had a lot of run-ins, even as a single digit ages. There's certain things that I couldn't see because here he is again. Because of the way I was raised, I was too hip for certain things. Yeah, I kept talking, man.
Okay.
When you freeze
Okay.
up, I kind of knock you off because it would just sit there frozen. It doesn't seem like you're going to come
Okay.
back. So I just remove it and bring you, when you come back, bring you back in. It seems like that's the modus operandi for tonight. So,
It looks like it. So I
yeah,
guess we can jump right into the
yeah,
visuals.
yeah.
Since you had a great picture, Dr. Amos Wilson, I won't have to show his, but you see the picture with the big pipeline leading from the school to the prison?
Okay, I'm going to be making face. The thumbnails are so small on my screen. I'm going to be like, huh?
Okay.
No, hold on for a second.
Wow. It's all right whenever you get to it. But I'll start out today's show talking about a study that kind of put everybody on notice, because not just because of the study itself, but what the implications of, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
But what the implications of this meant. So his primary thesis about this was that the public school system treats Black children as property to be indoctrinated for a future task that doesn't empower them or their community.
Right.
So this study, and we're going to get into this today. Like I said, Dr. Amos Wilson is a man whose work deserves, it would literally take a month to go through all of his work, but we're going to focus on primarily his work he did on the developmental psychology of Black children. So this study is called the fourth grade syndrome, the academic decline of Black children, by Jean Shaw and Vicki Jacobs. So the study said that teachers have often reported a fourth grade slump in literary development, particularly for low-income children. The critical transition from learning to read to reading to learn. And see, right in that language right there, okay, it lets you know when this transition begins. Because when you learn to read, that's one thing, right? But then when you're reading to learn, that's when these conflicts come in. This study uses Shaw's stages of reading development to take a closer look at the administrations of reading tests by NAEP, which is the National Assessment of Educational Progress, have since 1971 confirmed what has long been part of the common sense and intuitive knowledge of both teachers and lay people, that children from more economically advantaged families score significantly higher than the less advantaged kids all ages tested, from 9 to 13 to 17. and the gaps become greater with increasing age. So the questions are, why do these differences occur? And why are they so enduring and so universal, which universal in the American education system means, the whole country. So these are not statistics about Black children from one region of the country. You see what I'm saying? It's something that has to do with the collective consciousness of our children. Also, the study went on the subjects in the study, 1990, Shaw, Jacobs, and Baldwin, were 30 children, 10 each from grades 2, 4, and 6. And they were followed for 2 years through grades 3, 5, and 7, respectively. Low income status was determined by the students' eligibility for a free lunch program. So in other words, if their parents were low income, then they had to register for this free lunch program that they had back in the day. So this is how they classified them. So each child was given a series of individual tests of reading and language, as well as writing. So let's look at what happens at the 4th grade level to our children. And so after I read this, the results of the study, I just want to put this out here to you, Lance, and the family, because this is a very critical question. What happens at the 4th grade level to our children? If you want to put up the picture for me, Lance.
Sure.
It says, where the little girl, developmental psychology of the Black child. Yeah, right there. Beautiful young toddler. So the most significant finding of the study for reading was that low-income children in grades 2 and 3 achieved, as well as children in the normative population. Now look at the words they're using, normative, okay, population on all 6 subjects. So we know that up until the 4th grade, Black children and Black boys in particular were scoring in the high 90 percentile. Okay, this is a fact. And they found this in the study, that on all the subjects, the children that they classified as low income, we know they're talking about Black kids, that they were scoring just like all the other average groups of children from other socioeconomic households. However, as predicted by the theoretical model of reading used for the study, so see, they already pre-program and predict what the outcome is going to be for our children. So they had already theorized this, and they wanted to test this theory actually to see how, relevant it was. Okay, so however, as predicted by the theoretical model of reading used for the study, some of the students' scores started to decelerate around grade 4. This 4th grade slump reported often by teachers of disadvantaged children. Again, look at the type of language, because the words that are used, just like they do in special education, the words themselves become labels. And so when you hear all of these negative terms applied to you as a child, it develops this sort of inferiority complex. Okay, so the decline started in grade 4 on some tests and later on other tests. The first and strongest to slip was word meaning. Okay, I'm gonna read that again because that's very, very important. Okay, because we know that the vernacular in Black communities, regardless to what region of the country you come from, has its own. And I'll never forget, I was teaching English as a second language in DC, and this student from Morocco, Lance, I told you this story a couple times before. He came back the next morning. I was teaching language grammar, regional grammar. And he came the next morning because I told him to watch this movie called, it was about the first Black basketball team that won a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back the next morning. He was so excited. He was like, teacher, how can something bad be good? And man, I laughed so hard because he actually made the point. And I was able to do a whole lecture that day based on that. So
Wow.
I was explaining to him, look, this is what I've been trying to tell you guys for 2 months. That in different regions of the country, particularly in Black communities, there's a whole different type of interpretation or usage of words. And this is what this study was saying. Okay, so what happened was they started to slip based on word meaning. So in other words, and this is why Asians do so well on standardized tests, because they live amongst the culture of people, white people, that the testing items are germane to or come from. And we talked about this before, Lance, about the bitch test, which most of them fail, the Black intelligence test for children. But yeah, the other thing too was that the low income children in the study, grades 4 through 7, had the greatest difficulty defining more abstract academic, literary, and less common words as compared with a normative population on the word meaning test. Now, it's a lot in that statement they just made. Because what they're saying is, so if you're not able to interpret these, and Lance, we had this conversation one time before when we talked about how you were talking about your teachers, because Black children are kinesthetic learners. And
Yes.
Dr. Amos Wilson really brought out the importance of this, but they identify you when they know you have that special gift, which all of us have. If you read Pierce's The Magical Child, Black children are functioning at the level of an 18-month-old when they're just 6 months old. And it takes other children from other cultures 24 to 32 months to have these same gross motor skills and the cognitive abilities. So the other thing too is the way that they're using these terms. Normative. What is normative? We already know what that is. Okay. So in grade 4, the children were about a year behind grade norms. So in grade 4, they started to slip as far back as a year. But by grade 7, they were more than 2 years behind the norm. Now, I like to hear some of the comments from the family, Lance, about that as well. What do they think the causes of that is?
Well, let's have them drop some comments now so we can put it up on the screen if you want. See
And
your
how about
perspective.
you, Lance? What you think?
It's all about design. It's all about design. You
Yeah.
know, because like you say, you know, our motor skills are so superior, but then again, when it comes to their scholastic programs, why are we slipping behind? You know,
Yeah.
it's a trap, and then we get labeled, and then they want to
Yeah.
offer medication. We're slow.
Yes.
We have
Yes.
challenges or whatever. And then when you go into
Yes.
the neighborhoods of the so-called low-income places, it's all this sugar, all these
Oh my
stores
God.
that have, especially in the big inner cities, you
Yeah,
can
it
get all the
is.
sugar you want in snacks and candy and soda, and that
Yes.
makes it
I
even
hate
worse.
that.
Yeah, there's no wholesome food that maybe some do. I'm not saying everybody. I'm not
Well,
going to say or
the
label
one
everybody,
thing,
but
the one
yeah.
thing is you have the little Chinese markets, fruit markets in our communities that kind of help out here. I don't know about the
Hmm.
East Coast.
Yeah.
So
Growing up.
that helps a lot. And then they have programs where you can go, like one of the places I volunteered, the center. They feed people with healthy food, fruits and veggies. But you're right, man. Any store you go into where there is a predominance of black people, it's nothing going to be nothing but sugary products. You can't even get an OJ. And,
Yeah.
and so- yeah, so that battle goes hand in hand because we know that the destruction is on all levels. So one of the things that I wanted to do is just mention the fact that Dr. Amos Wilson also dealt with primarily with adult issues, black on black violence. These were like 3 or 4 of his books that really had a profound impact on the black community during that time. The developmental psychology of the black child, which we're talking about today, and the blueprint for black power. Now, I want to put up the visual lance of the
Yeah.
child pushed into prison.
Before we move on to the other one, I want to share
Oh, yeah.
a comment by Sister Diane.
Oh, Queen Diane.
Yes. And she said,
All right.
facts, Brother Neil Frazier. Our black women need to be reading out loud while they're carrying their children. And as soon as their child is born, they need to be reading to them every day.
That is absolutely correct. Thank you for that comment. I notice everybody is dialed in, and Queen Diane is always dialed in, and that's important. So, what happens is, how you have to go to work, but you have to have, and see, this is one of the things that is part of the destruction of our community as well, and particularly in this day and age, is that I heard a young lady explaining this, that she has to pay $2,400 a month in childcare.
Damn.
So the fact that she doesn't have a second income. Now, one of the things that I see that other cultures do is that, you might laugh at 5 or 6 of them living in a house, but guess what? I learned to do that myself. Okay.
Mhm.
Until you, yeah, until you can do what you need to do. You need to learn, the black folks need to learn how to live with each other. You know, I know that in America, we grow up the same way as the normative culture, whatever that means. We know what that means. But we feel like, and it's nothing wrong, like the beautiful mansion you built there, brother, in a keep line. It's nothing wrong with that. I'm talking about when they have you focus more on that than they have you
Yeah.
focus on your mission and purpose in life.
Right. Right.
So what happens is you substitute your soul purpose for something that they say makes you like them.
Yes.
And,
And let me
and
interject. Let me
yeah,
interject also that a lot of people that I know that know
uh,
these people personally, they were saying like, "Hey man, you going out there to flex? You shouldn't
right.
have built like that." you know, but this is the thing, is that this undergirds my mission, because there's certain
Yes.
things I don't have to concern myself with anymore. I have the solitude, the space to do a lot of things that you'll see in the future. But
Yes.
in this
Yes.
phase of my life, I needed that ability to be undergirded this way, that I
Absolutely.
banish the mortgage or rent, and I can focus only on what I need to focus on. And what I have coming in goes back into what I do, and it enhances
Absolutely.
it. I don't have to think about survival. I can
Yeah.
go after my dream and my vision. But
Yeah.
it
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And the funny thing too, I want to interject on a personal level.
Yeah.
When we sketched out the design, you know, for each floor and the whole place, I didn't put any measurements by it. The
Okay.
architect actually, because he had to run it through, and I know a bit of architecture, so I did everything just right. But there's weight
Right.
bearing walls and this and this and that. But it's different out here when you're building a house of concrete and cinder blocks. So
Man.
he actually put 25% more size on it than I anticipated.
Wow.
So when we
Hey,
started
man,
building, I
that
was like,
is a
how's it
nice,
packing all this
beautiful
material?
mansion that you built.
But it's the same layout. But if it was smaller, I would
Yeah.
be cool with it. But I'm not complaining now. It's done.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
good, man.
yeah.
And
But it's only to relieve myself of having those things over my shoulder. And now I can really get into what I want to get into, and bring others in as they come out here, or those who are already here, to start something really progressive. But I'm not calling
yes.
myself any, you know, hit the cash app, hit the cash app, hit the, but I have a
Right.
base now
Right.
that
Right.
I will show what I'm doing with it, where I don't have to ask for anything unless somebody gave something for that, and it'll be full
Right.
accountability. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah,
Absolutely. And you know that is the big difference too. I'm glad you brought that out because that's one of the primary things that Dr. Amos Wilson actually spoke against that hurts us is
yeah,
that we don't plan the things that we give value to for our lives. It has to be based on what other people's values are.
all
And,
right.
and that is a critical mistake because then you have to go by their timeline or you have to go by any type of situation where they set up a timeline of value and a standard
Hmm.
that you, instead of working towards your plan like you did or doing, and not being focused on, and again, this point is so great because this is at the heart of what we're talking about today that happens with our Black children. But thanks for the
Yes.
question, Queen Diane. That's a great question there. Um, you ready to go to the next visual, brother?
Oh, sure. Whenever you're ready, brother, I'm
Okay.
here.
So it says, child push into prison. I know they're small. I'll let you know when it pops up.
Yeah, no problem. Let me
So I see whoever, no, keep going.
okay.
Whoever I noticed that when I unplugged my charger, no, keep going,
Okay.
that, no, keep going. Yeah, no, keep going.
Okay.
Let's see. No, one more. I
Okay, I
think
think
it's
I
the
got it
next.
now.
No, the next one.
Okay.
I got a lot of them up there because
No, it's no problem.
each one
Oh,
of these pictures have a definite, it says child push into prison. And
okay.
that
Let me
explains a
just go down the
lot.
list.
Okay,
And
children
there you
being
go.
pushed into prison. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it right there. Now, when we get down to real numbers, this is something that Dr. Amos Wilson really honed in on in the developmental psychology of the Black child. And he also said that this is the seeds of Black self-hatred and that others program our children from an early age. Now, let's see why we're discussing this school to prison pipeline today. Number one, his analysis of systemic control over Black youth through education and social institutions. I'm sorry, brother. This is not the one. It's the one you showed before that. That's
Okay.
my bad.
No problem. Let me go down the list.
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let me see. I gotta get this. Okay, so you can see from this graph here, and so this graph was based on the data that they collected from the prison system as well as the juvenile detention centers. But as I said, his analysis of systemic control over Black youth through education and social institutions is right here. So when we see, now he's saying there's two different pipelines. The first pipeline involves suspension and expulsions. And I can personally speak to this. Frequent suspensions and expulsions that remove students from their classrooms and disconnect them from their school community. Now look at that number. 72% of school suspensions are for minor infractions. Now, again, when I was living in Washington, D.C., I worked for a charter high school, ARE, Associates for Renewal in Education. And it was a school that Dr. Brenda Nixon, who was a Black councilwoman at the time, she was fighting against all the Black kids being expelled from the DC public school system, not suspended. So when you're expelled, that means you can never go back, unless you know this, it's the same thing in New York, to the public school system. Okay, so it was, look at that percentage. And then the other thing about that was too is, if you expel someone from a public school system, say we used to get 10th graders, 11th graders, very rarely 12th graders. But the infractions were not that serious. Black students are almost 3 times, and Latino students 2.5 times as likely to be suspended as their white peers in Massachusetts. Okay, so we see, following this first pipeline, let's see what happens as a result of this high number of suspensions and expulsions. Once outside of school, which school, we all know, is sort of like a buffer for us against the world at a young age. But once outside of school, there is a greater risk of justice system involvement. We know this, the numbers prove this. Youth are more than twice as likely to be arrested during periods when they are suspended or expelled from school. That is a fact. This data comes from, let's read this. So, driven by zero tolerance policies, school funding cuts that have reduced resources and support for students, and the presence of law enforcement. So schools with police reported 3.5 times as many arrests as schools without police. That's very significant. Okay. There is little convincing evidence that the presence of an armed police officer has much effect on school safety at all. Security theater. School hardening measures as the surveillance and weapons detection create a hostile environment and criminalize students. Okay. Now, I want to read something that Dr. Amos Wilson talked about this fact right here before we go into the second pipeline. Y'all all right?
Oh, we good. We good.
Okay. Okay.
Diane she made another uh really awesome comment. I just want to share it real quick
Okay.
on the prior point that we made. She said, facts, Neil Frazier. That is what my grandparents did in Chicago. They bought a 2-flat and allowed several of their children to raise their families, my mom included.
Wow. But again, black people back there had more wisdom during that time.
Exactly.
So they didn't. Thanks again. That's another great revelation, Queen Diane, because that is how black folks did survive back in the day. Even using the barter system, right?
Right.
Wow.
See that?
And, wow. Okay. That's in Chicago?
Yes.
Wow. That is that's saying a lot. So that goes back, oh man. So they definitely lived during the era, and that's why people can't tell us anything about what our ancestors endured, because your family has lived, okay, in Chicago and have withstood all of the things that they have done to black people in major cities like Chicago.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow, that's incredible. Another great comment. Thank you, Queen Diane. And as we go on with this, that comment actually also gives credence to what Dr. Amos Wilson was saying about when we let go of things that were important for us and our communities and begin to try to measure up to their communities in certain things without the fundamental the foundation, or holding on to our foundations, that was a major mistake. So he went on to say that what the school to prison pipeline mirrors is at its core, the pipeline is a system where students, especially Black and poor students, are pushed out of schools and into the criminal justice system through discipline, neglect, and inequality. He argues that it is not an accidental, but tied to power, economics, and social and political control. Education as social control. Dr. Amos Wilson believed that schools don't just educate, they shape behavior to fit a power structure, and the schools function as institutions of conditioning, not liberation. If a system is unequal, education will reflect that inequality. Black children are often trained for subordination, not empowerment. And students who do not conform are labeled problems. Instead of being supported, they are criminalized, removed, or punished. Now, let's look at the second pipeline, because that's going to, kind of explain what Dr. Amos Wilson was saying about this. The second pipeline, if you don't get caught up in the first one, suspended or expelled, is students are arrested in school. And there's a statistic that's going to blow your mind when you see this. I was not even aware of it. But students are arrested in school for behaviors better resolved through alternative approaches, leading to system involvement, rather than addressing the underlying needs of that behavior. So in other words, if you treat them like human beings and the children of the creator creatrix, then you should have no problem trying to help be someone that is moving children forward in a positive direction. And we've allowed these counterfeit spirits to usurp our humanness. And they're doing it with our children, as we're going to expose today. Also in this pipeline, students of color, students with disabilities, and students that are impacted by trauma are disproportionately disciplined and arrested rather than receiving support and services. Let's see here. So right here. Yeah, so we saw what happened with the security, what happens with the arrest record of our children when they're in these schools. Okay, brother, let's go to another picture. I think that, let's see, the one if you could get that one you had up previously, I do want to comment on. Yes, great.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you. So now here's the other question in regards to the school prison pipeline. Are our children being pushed into prison? All right. Let's look at the numbers. From school to prison, students of color face harsher discipline and are more likely to be pushed out of school than whites. 40% of students expelled from U.S. schools each year are Black. Now, that's a significant number, okay? Because like I mentioned in the beginning, when you're expelled from the public school system, that means you can never go back. It's not like being suspended. And that's very significant. This is why you see more Black men forced to hustle, you know, and do a lot of different things. You know what I mean? It's not, and then they label them with these labels. But when we look at the reasons, and this is why they don't like to deal with human issues, why everything is artificial, right? It's because Black folks are human, okay? In our spirit, we have fire. So we have to deal with that. We cannot just, so now we go back to the question of what Malcolm said. Only a fool will allow their enemies to teach their children. But yet, many Black women are in a situation like the young lady I heard talking a couple of weeks ago, that she has to spend $2,400 a month for babysitting. And on top of that, she don't get any time to spend with the child to teach her things that she wants to. And by the time the weekend comes, and I know I'm not trying to make excuses. I know a lot of mothers have to do that. But just keeping with the numbers, okay? Now you have created 40%, bro. Now, 40% of our young men are out here in America trying to survive. Now, think about that, okay? Here's another number. 70% of students involved in in-school arrests or referred to law enforcement are Black or Latino. Brother, these are huge numbers.
Yes, it is.
See, you know, along with being denied our human rights, because like I said, that word civil rights, that still puts somebody else over you. No, we have a human right. Article 19, the universal right to speak truth. The other thing is, we know this mindset because you go before the world and say that you have no remorse for slavery and that you don't believe that our people deserve. See, I already know the outcome of this. That's why I don't dwell on it too much, because that's between you and the creator and creator experience. I hate to be in that position. I hate to be in that position, but when we look at these numbers, this tells the whole story. Black students are 3.5 times more likely to be suspended than white students. That is a huge number, bro. Now think about the whole United States, 3.5 times more. You've already created a substack
Yep.
or underclass. You've already created that by default. But again, just the mere fact of looking at these numbers and, you know, to listen to these people talking about pull yourself up by your bootstraps, telling people black folks are lazy when they know that's the biggest lie in America. We still here. We're still thriving. Even with these type of statistics, and by the way, that all of us went through, some at higher levels. A lot of these kids, they put on Ritalin and stuff like that. Blacks and Latino students are twice as likely to not graduate high school as whites. So we already know what the consequences of that is. 68% of all males in state and federal prison do not have a high school diploma. That's significant as well. When you look down here, I can't see the writing, but I think I remember what it was is one out of the color of mass incarceration is down at the bottom here.
Okay, let me move this banner out of the way so you can see it a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you. So that first statistic, I cut off what it was saying.
Yeah.
But the other two is one out of every African-American male, okay, is incarcerated. And one out of every 6 Latino male. Okay. So now, again, this is not something that we are theorizing. Not something that Neil Frazier and LanceScurvX sit in a back room and say, hey, man, let's get out here and make white people look bad. No. This is how you hold our feet to the fire on everything. So if you're in control of the society at all levels, then here's the raw data from your institutions. Not from some HBCU or any other type of black organization or the NAACP or anything, Urban League. These are your statistics. Now, here's another area too I really became aware of when I came here is from foster care to prison. So youth of color are more likely than whites to be placed in the foster care system, a breeding ground for the criminal justice system. 50% of children in the foster care system are black or Latino. I'm gonna read that again. Because see, we think they have told us that all of these issues that black folks have is we're playing the victim card. And isn't that what they say?
Yep.
Or what's the other thing they say? Not just woke, but there's something else they say. I can't think of it right now. Yeah, that's half. Bro, I ain't even gonna comment on that, man. I ain't even gonna comment on that. Here's another big one. 30% of foster care youth entering the juvenile justice system are placement-related behavioral cases. So in other words, like they used to do in special education, they started classifying Black boys as having what they call a behavior disorder, right? That they later changed to ADHD. But they later, when they found out, when they created the Department of Gifted and Talented in the division special ed, they found out that these kids were geniuses, that they just get bored and they start, I told you about this before, Lance, doing the spitballs around the classroom, making little straws, and then flying the airplanes, making little paper airplanes, because they would be bored. So what I would do is, I turned it around. I would say, okay, so the ones that finish early, then you can go on the playground.
Right. Wow.
So what I did, rather than criminalizing them, I gave them a reward for doing it.
Right.
But the justice, but the system that our children face, and we face as well, they criminalize this. So the numbers speak for themselves. Of young people leaving foster care will be incarcerated 25%. This is crazy. Within a few years after turning 18. Now, that sounds like a meal to me. You know what that reminds me of? The G League, the developmental league of the NBA. Or, I mean, because they snatched them in junior high school now. So even in football, same thing. 25% of young people leaving foster care will be incarcerated, okay, within a few years after turning 18. Okay, 50% of people leaving foster care will be unemployed within a few years after turning 18. Now, just those two figures alone can change the destiny, the future destiny of any Black male in this country.
That's right.
Right or wrong. Just those two right there. And then we have here 70% of inmates, let's see, in state and foster care youth, I guess they're saying in California, are in some type of, state prison situation. What did Queen Diane say? We migrated to Chicago during migration from Georgia. Yes, so did my family. Not to Chicago, but other places north. And a lot of Black people, particularly most Black people that are over the age of, I would say, 55, were either born in the South or their parents were. Well, all of our parents were born there. You have some people like Lance, who's over 60, who was born in New York, and then you have people that were born in other places. But
yes, my mother was born in Virginia.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my father's from Jamaica, so that's super South.
Right. So, but so you have this overlap of culture, which really helped, was a good thing, because it helped to use it to our advantage, at least our ancestors did, because they gave you good, solid Southern principles, right?
Yes.
And then you learn how to navigate, the jungles in big cities.
Exactly.
So it was good on the one hand, but a lot of our brothers fell victim to a lot of the things that was going on outside of their
Breaking
control.
up a little bit.
Huh?
You've been breaking up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Now I want to go to I want to go to another visual, Lance, when it talks about the preschool or prison. This is something that Dr. Amos Wilson really, really homed in. No, not that one. Yes, perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
So now, this is something too that we don't think about, because I heard this white lady who was a nurse, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. She was saying that Black people really don't know how they treat Black infants. And that, we need to pay more attention, that the Black mothers need to pay more attention. And I was trying to figure out what she was talking about. But before I get into this visual, I just want to lay this out. Dr. Amos Wilson did a fabulous job with bringing this out to our awareness. So he says that miseducation leads to disengagement. So in other words, and this is something that happened, in my opinion, at the 4th grade level, where particularly our Black boys begin to disengage. For one, they start to experience more overt racism, or they become more aware of it or sensitive to it. They see how the society begins to treat them different. And then the other factor too is they're looked at not for their minds or their brain power, but as at their athletic power to make money off of. So they start identifying a lot of these children, man, at a very early age for athletics. A lot of people be really surprised. The developmental psychology of the Black child, when children are taught in ways that don't reflect their identity, or in ways that don't, or reality, they disconnect. Disengagement, poor performance, higher dropout risk. And this statement by Amos Wilson aligns with research showing, which we read the big study they did, suspensions and expulsions increase the likelihood of incarceration later. So in other words, what he's saying is that they begin at this level, well, this is my interpretation of what he's saying, to begin to program them. And one of the major ways they do this, okay, is that when children are taught in ways that don't reflect their identity, in other words, if they don't see their image in these books, and we don't see this in one of the other visuals, one of the organizations I follow, and the reality that they live every day, they disconnect. So again, when our children go into these schools, into these institutions, they see pictures on the wall of people that don't come from their community. See, this is an area that we have failed to advocate for. Okay. Now let's look at some of the things that he kind of expounded on. That early learning programs allow expulsions. Now, that's something to think about. So if you have a child in a preschool or kindergarten program, and they are perceived as a troubled child, troublemaker, whatever label they put on that child, they can expel that child from preschool. Okay. So immediately what that does is it labels the child rather than trying to work with the child, because this is how early they start with these labels and inferiority complex. But I look at it totally different from how it is. So, I always use the law of polarity because I know, just like with woke, it means something totally different to us, or it should. But this is a great opportunity for the parents not to reinforce this. Why did you get put out of kindergarten? Scolding the child. To say, okay, great. This is a great opportunity for me to teach my child Black history and give them the identity that they're going to need, because there are also studies that show when Black children identify with who they are, they become stronger.
Of course.
Right. And so this is, he was spot on with this. So the other thing is with this is that the system creates failure. Okay. Then it punishes the result. Okay. Now I'm gonna say that again because that's very important. All right. So when they expel, a child faces expulsion at this age, what the system is saying is that you failed in some way. You either failed to uphold, your contract with the school in terms of behaving the way we say you should behave, or you're not doing something. It's always something that's involving some type of control. And I get it. You have to have some level of control in a classroom. That's not what I'm saying. Because I know there are people that are twisted sometimes in the way they interpret things, but that's okay. We're growing out of that. The other thing too is that discipline as criminalization becomes a major factor. Now, the teacher holds implicit biases and feels stressed by lack of resources. So here again, our children, there are probably 20% of the teachers, male and female, in the public school system throughout America are Black. And that might be kind of high. I don't know. Because, so here's the point, that our children are being taught by mainly white women and women from other cultures and white males. So already we have a kind of schism, a natural schism that exists. Okay. And just by the fact of how, it works out, there's going to be some level of stress. And then, like all teachers that go into predominantly Black schools, there's going to be a lack of resources. Now, if the teachers are frustrated, think about how frustrated the children are, or how the children are systemically set behind because they're not getting the same level of education that other children are getting, which automatically places them at a higher pecking order in our society, the way it is structured. Also, that the child is expelled, or could include soft expulsion, where a program makes it difficult for a family to stay. So in other words, they put all of these demands that the child has to meet when it comes back in the program. So now the child becomes, nervous they can't function in their natural behavior. So it kind of messes up their nervous system. The child misses out on the opportunity to learn or develop skills. Now, that again, that's in their interpretation. And my interpretation is this is a golden opportunity for us to teach our children at this age, rather than them being in a kindergarten situation. And I get it. Some people might say, okay, well, it may benefit them to be in a preschool situation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the curriculum that's being taught to them. K through 12, they have zero tolerance policies. And this lead to discipline for minor offenses. And then finally, we have child feels lack of engagement with school and more likely to drop out. At higher risk for incarceration as an adult. Okay, brother, you can go to another visual. He said a mouthful on that one. Let's see. How about the visual for Black Kids Read? That's an organization I follow. Which
Okay.
No, that's not it. Go ahead.
Oh, this might be it here.
Yes. All right.
There it
Thank
is.
you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Black Kids Read. Now, think about this, and this is at the core again of what Dr. Amos Wilson's argument is in the developmental psychology of Black children. And this is a fact. You cannot educate Black children the way you educate white children because they have different functions in this society. Okay, now we're not talking about you competing for positions or, whatever. We're talking about at the fundamental level, if you have this void with somebody like Clarence Thomas, I'm sure when he look in the mirror, he see himself as an old white man. I don't want to get started on that. But at Black Kids Read, we believe that Black children should see themselves reflected in books. And see, this is at the core of another fight that we have to have. In the books that our children read, I want people to think about what I'm saying. When they first walk into those buildings, they don't see any pictures of our great ancestors that have contributed so much to this country. As I said, America would be a fifth class country, okay, without the thousands of inventions of Black people. That is a fact without argument. And without, we know what our people produce in the cotton fields, tobacco fields, but that should not be the only thing that our pictures that our children see. And this is because I see the books, okay? I go to the libraries. I see what they're putting out. Now, I will say, in fairness to the Asians here in California, it's really weird. But in education, in their books, they always have dark-skinned children in there across the board. And at first, when I noticed this, I was like, interesting. But yeah, they do that. And in all the libraries and the books they have, even in their sections, you see that. But the fundamental thing that Dr. Amos Wilson is saying here is, unless you have the pictures, that's why I always advocate having pictures of Black people like Yeshua in our homes or wherever we live. Okay? Because at the subconscious level, just like the issue we have with Caesar Borgia, is we're going to have a problem. Okay, brother, I'll go to, so again, the data that we showed initially came from the Sentencing Project. Okay, so we're going to go into another visual.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
Hold on, let me see here, Lance. In school to prison pipeline.
Okay. I think I had pulled that up already. Let me see.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay. So now, just to kind of wrap up the thought we were talking about earlier about the discipline as criminalization, that institutions treat children as threats rather than children. Modern pipeline examples are zero tolerance policies, police in schools, particularly where there is a significant population of Black students, arrests for minor behavior, and these practices turn normal school behavior into criminal offenses. So they push students towards the justice system instead of support services. And this is early stage social control that we showed at the under 5 years old age in preschool, preparing youth for surveillance and punishment. That and that Black Americans are heavily overrepresented in U.S. prisons and jails, making up 13% of the U.S. population, but a whopping 38% of the incarcerated population. As of 2022, according to data from the Prison Policy Initiative, in 2023, also, Black youth were placed in juvenile facilities at a rate of 293 per 100,000, which is 5.6 times more than white youth at only 52% per 100,000. So again, you know, when we look at the actual numbers and not the rhetoric, we see how I like the way that you put the word blueprint for systemic oppression. I think I had something like how Black kids are whatever, systemically oppressed or whatever. Mm-hmm. Because this is clearly a blueprint. Okay, this is clearly a blueprint. We're going to talk about, now this was something that I was shocked about that I didn't know. You know, maybe you, Lance, or people in the family knew this, but let's look at this statistic. Okay, so this is in the school to prison pipeline. This organization, Moms Rising, or Kids Rising, does a fabulous job with bringing this to light. That the criminalization of children, and by the way, we have to protect our youth as well, because we know that there is a global ring at the highest levels of our society that are after our children. Criminalization of children and youth, excessive and exclusionary school discipline policies, and juvenile justice involvement push too many children and youth into and or deeper into the criminal justice system. Black students are 4 times more likely to be suspended than their white peers. But now this is the statistic that blew my mind, that I actually did not know. That Black girls are 10 times more likely than white girls to receive discipline referrals. Now I'm gonna let that stay up for a second. That in itself, now that's, you know, we talk a lot about the war on Black boys. There's a war on our Black girls. That is an astonishing statistic.
Big time.
So let's look at the economic function of the pipeline, which this includes, because now these girls are getting, because every time they do one of these disciplinary referrals, that stays in their permanent record. And it goes wherever they go. And now that they have the digital system, you know, so institutions serve economic systems. He argued in this powerful book that Blueprint for Black Power, that marginalized populations are often managed, not developed. And that's a very key statement. okay, that black populations or black children, okay, or marginalized populations are often managed, not developed. So you're not being developed. And I often say that the downfall of America has more to do with the narrow sightedness or lack of vision than anything else. Now, let me ask you a question, brother, or some of the
Sure.
family. Am I going to be in the NBA Finals and have my two best players on the bench the whole game?
That don't make sense.
Black, oh yeah, I see that comment. Yeah, my children's nature book, you can get it in its digital form along with the audio book. I don't know if they can see this, Lance, but I can show it.
Oh yeah, let me take the
Yeah.
visual down. Let me see.
So we're in the process of having the interactive app put
Oh,
together.
your screen is sideways.
Is it?
The phone? Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, yeah, that's the book. And you can get it. I'll send the audio form. I mean, the audio book along with the digital form. And it's only $29.99. It helps to the Academy to continue the work, okay, for our children in terms of them learning the real teacher, which nature is our greatest teacher. So I chose the battle at this level because there are other people I put in my time
As soon as
with
he's saying something important.
young
You're
adults.
back, brother.
Huh?
You froze up for a second, so share the information again
Oh,
that you were
okay.
sharing. Yeah.
So I chose to because about a year ago I had someone ask me, well, Neil, why are you writing a book for children from the age of 3 to 12? I said, because that's where my new fight is. That's where my new fertile ground is. I don't put in my time with the youngsters, teenagers. I'm not in that battle anymore.
Right.
And so, yeah, so I focus a lot on that. And yeah, so a lot comes from this book. I developed a game for our children from this book as well. That's in the patent stage. So a great question, Sister Diane. I don't know how my screen got flipped. I'm not sure. I didn't
Is your
touch
phone
this.
vertical
No,
or
this is
horizontal?
no, this is my iPad.
Okay, turn it on the side. Let's see.
Okay.
Just yeah. It might flip back. Okay, the screen is black now. I don't know if you can hear
Yeah, I
me.
know. I see it knocked out.
Yeah, he just logged out again. He's gonna come back in. Let me stop hiding here. Show my face. I'm very much a real person. I'm here. But this internet, I don't know. It's not here on this side, I know, because I did some things yesterday that made sure, unless a total blackout happens. But it's always at this time. You know, this was cussing and damning and calling our sisters bad words and acting thuggish. It would go through straight. Crazy. Here he is back. Let's see how it is.
Am I upside down or sideways?
Okay, let me see. We go back into. Yeah, it's sideways. It's okay, brother. Just move. We can see
Okay.
you.
Let's see. How's that?
Perfect. You're back.
Okay. Okay. So I hope I answered the question for Queen Diane.
Yes, and if you have any links, whatever, shoot it to me and I'll put it in the
Okay.
comment section of this particular video. So anybody who hears it afterward, they'll know where to go.
Okay. Send it to your email. It's a QR code.
Oh, it's a QR code?
Yeah, and a link is attached to it.
Okay,
I can send the link by itself.
Yeah, send the link by itself.
Okay. Okay.
And separately, send me the QR code so that way I can put it up in each show in the corner and we can just point to it, boom, and refer to it.
Okay, bet. Okay. Yeah. So now we were talking about ending the school to prison pipeline and how one out of every that Black girls are 10 times more likely to be have disciplinary referrals than white girls. Now that is a game changer right there. If you want to move to the digitalizing the school to prison program, and I think that's the last visual there, Lance.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, digitalize. Let me see what this is here. That's not it. Did you put this one up already?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yes.
Okay.
Digitizing the school to prison pipeline. Now, this is very, very important. And anybody with a young child, I want you to listen very closely to what I'm saying. That you need to ask to see the digital records of your children. Okay? That's extremely important. I don't know if you want to go to they still have the parent meetings, all right, or what have you, but that's something you need to interact with your school system if you have a child, particularly at the elementary school level or third grade or lower. Because you want to see that, because again, what's going to happen, the teachers that they encounter, depending on what's on that digital record, are going to have a preconceived notion of the child. You see what I'm saying? And that's going to severely stop their chances of developing properly because they have some type of label on them. Finally, this was a very important aspect of this school to prison pipeline, the visual digitizing the school to prison pipeline. Oh boy. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. Okay. First off was structural racism. And the disparities are systemic, not individual, according to Dr. Wilson. So this structural racism that's in the public school system is systemic. Okay. And it's not individual. Although we know that there are individuals who may use this structural racism to inflict more pain on our children. That is something that we know that has happened and continue to happen. He also points out, which the data supports, that Black students are disciplined more harshly for the same behaviors exhibited by white students. Modern data supports these statements that Black students are suspended and arrested at disproportionately higher rates than all other students from all other cultural groups in America. This is part of a larger system of racial domination and not just isolated school policies. So you see, when you look at it in this sense, you see that it's not just that individual school where your child is attending, okay? It's system-wide. nationwide. Okay. And so, although the policies may vary from region to region or even state to state in some cases, you still have this structural racism in place that is a stigma attached to our children as they begin to navigate in this system. I'll tell you another good reference, Dr. Neely Fuller is another good reference for this. And finally, the last two we talked about was the pipeline as a system, not a single policy. That the pipeline is not just about bad teachers or individual biases, as I was just explaining. Instead, it's a network of institutions working together, such as the schools, the courts, policing, economic systems that all reinforce each other. He also advocated as a solution to these issues. And when we look back at our ancestors, this was something that they actually did in our communities. He advocated for independent, culturally grounded education, or homeschooling, or however you look at it. Psychological empowerment. In other words, having pictures of Black people where they can see them on a daily. Community control of schools. Now, that's a little more of a challenge. And this is one of the areas where, the church could really make a difference in this area, because the type of money or fiat that goes through that system, billions a year, can be allocated towards some type of community programs that will educate our children. That is absolutely one area that the church, while you worshiping and clapping and kumbaya, and think about the fact that the money that you're putting on the altar can change the complete destiny of our young people, and they don't have to be at the mercy, well, I ain't gonna use that word, but the mercy of a system that we know is set up to devour them. Also, he talked about teaching self-determination, not compliance. And when I looked at that, if I make this final point, this is a very important point, because when I looked at that, I thought about the fact that how difficult it is for Black people to get any type of business loans that will be used to, better our community. And before I read this last point, I just want to follow that up with a couple of examples that, that teaching self-determination, not compliance. Okay, brother, you can remove that if you like. Thank you. Thank you for handling those visuals.
Oh, no problem.
And also that education should produce power, not dependency. And see, this is where we're stuck right now, because, all right, if you boycott a corporation and then go to basically the same corporations, then you know what I'm saying? It kind of like something I heard Dr. John Reed Clark say once. He said, stop, and Dr. Arthur Lewis said this, stop talking about which one of your oppressors are going to give you more of a break. None of them are. So you can, and this is at the root of the danger that we're facing right now, because we can't trade with each other we have a serious issue because they've already cut off that. So there was a brilliant lady, and I want to talk about her because it adds to, I'm going to read that again, that Dr. Wilson said as a solution that that education should determine our future, okay? And that, let me get it right, education should produce power and not dependency. And that teaching self-determination, not compliance, is what we should be teaching our children. Now, there was a lady, her name was, all right, Neil, stop confusing yourself. Her name was Maggie Walker, okay? And Maggie Walker, this is a sister that definitely should be in the homes of all Black people. Okay, so Dr. Maggie Walker, she was the first, not just Black woman, the first woman in America, okay, to be president and charter a bank. Now, how do you think that would affect our children if they heard about her? If our young girls, who are 10 times more likely to be caught up into this system. What type of, I'm going to say that again. Maggie L. Walker in 1903 was the first, not just Black female, the first female in the United States to charter a bank, St. Luke's Penny's Savings Bank. She was educated in the Black normal schools of Richmond, or your mother's home state in Virginia. And so you see, those Black normal schools produce a lot of confidence and determination. It produced a lot because we were competing to get into a system that had locked us out, but couldn't hold us out. And so she was a phenomenal woman. She built a financial institution that gave mortgage loans to Black families, as well as Black businesses. She believed in starting Black institutions, and she opened a department store and a newspaper. Also, the bank was a safe place for Black families to save their money. St. Luke Emporium hired Black people and preached financial self-sufficiency. She merged with two other Black financial institutions. And again, she was the first female in America to be the president of a bank. She also was a tireless civic leader. She used her newsletter to advocate for positive images of Black people, to confront the negative images that white people had put out about Black people during that time. And I think I'll end the show with that one, brother. Yeah. I didn't hear you.
I had the mute button on.
Oh, okay.
I just want to answer that question and what it reminded me of.
Okay.
What it would do to our young Black girls to see Black excellence like that from a Black woman repeatedly, right? Because there's a lot of things that we don't know about. There's a lot of information that they withhold about us,
Yes.
male and female, Black. And when you said that, and when you asked the question, it reminded me of all things, powerlifting. And why do I think about that when you said that? Well, you know, whenever they have a record that hasn't been broken, or a poundage in the deadlift, the clean and jerk, whatever, and somebody finally breaks that
Ah,
record. It may not be a record, but they make, say, for example, in a certain lift, it's a 500-pound barrier that people just can't seem to get. And they get to 495, they get to 498, they get to 499, 499 and a quarter. It's a
ceiling,
psychological thing. They can't get past that.
psychological ceiling.
Yeah. And the minute somebody breaks it, if they go 500 and point something pounds, just barely over it, within that next year, you got 3 or 4 or 10 people breaking that record small, little by little. But it's a psychological thing. So that's the
That
point that I
is,
want to get to, that if we don't see ourselves in positions of excellence, and not just positions of excellence in an oppressive system, but outside of the system, doing our own thing, creating our own thing, other people will see that, and that would raise the bar, and automatically they'll see themselves in that position, maybe in a different category, but they know they have all the seeds of greatness inside of them. So with all of this negative stuff put out about us being thugs and the women being, the H word, HO,
mm-hmm,
that's lowering everything. And we can only see ourselves that way. So
mm-hmm.
even within, to feed words to your children, to make them see the excellence, not just in what the system wants to make us see ourselves as, just basketball players or rappers or something that they can, manipulate. You see what I mean? Because we all think we're going to make all this money because of that. It's not just about money. It's the standard,
That's true.
like with
That's true.
Sister Queen Diane's grandmother undergirded the
Yes.
whole family. You know how
Perfect
much money
example.
they saved? How much
Yes.
camaraderie and love that they pooled together? They weren't living across town from each other. They looked out for each other. That's the way it's supposed to be. In
Yeah,
the
I
modern day
agree.
system, is to separate us. We should not be paying for daycare. You can't show me a
I
daycare
know.
center here in Ghana, in Accra. And they got family. The
Yeah.
younger people go to work, and the older folks are on the property taking care of their grandchildren.
That's what Asian people do.
Right.
The older Asian people, you always see them with their grandchildren.
Yes. And that
And
continues that vibration. But I know you have to go, brother. But I just wanted to
yeah.
interject that point, because when you talk, my wheels are going. I don't know if I'll sleep tonight. I might make so much content, but for what you said, I got to force myself to get to bed.
Well, yeah, that's an excellent point you just made. Just to pick back on that real quickly, is that that reminds me of the story of Roger Banneker. Nobody thought that anyone could run a mile under 4 minutes.
Right, right,
Okay. And once he did it, then I believe it was within the next 3 months, at least 10 other people did. And then the story goes, it went up to 50 people.
right.
So that's an excellent point, because that psychological ceiling is one of the issues that Dr. Amos Wilson was talking about as well, is that when you don't have these images, and you don't see yourself as the one that determines your own destiny,
Right.
then that is going to affect the growth and development of Black children. So peace and love to you and the family, brother. Keep
Yes,
holding
brother.
on to the belts. And thank you, Queen Diane, for those questions. And
Yes.
thanks the family for always being vibrant. And look forward to talking to you guys again next week.
Thank you. The King of Mondays has spoken.
All right, brother Lance.
All right, brother. Take care. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Just want to say I ran a 4-minute mile one time. The bathroom was a mile away. I'm crazy.
That's a good one.
All right, brother. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I have something coming that I've been working on. And it's a short little thing, but it's something I want to speak about. And I'm going to work on something else as that uploads. So, I have some more stuff coming. I will go live at some point tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm going to have some things to do, but I'm going to do that and some stuff. We're on a roll, and I'm enjoying myself, and it's all good. So anyway, much love to you all. On to the next one, and peace.